Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our telephone town hall with Mayor Randall Woodfin. I am Sybil Scarborough, and I will serve today as the moderator. Today, you will be hearing from Mayor Woodfin, and we will also open up the phone lines for questions and answers. At any time, you may press 0 on your keypad to personally ask Mayor Woodfin a question. Staff members are standing by to assist you. Now, I would like to welcome and turn this meeting over to Mayor Randall Woodfin.
Hey, good afternoon to all of our city employees. I'm happy for you all to be on this call. You all know the purpose of these calls is to be in a position to not only share and update and information with you all, but to be in a position to address any of your concerns, issues, and or questions, which I imagine with the start of a new fiscal year and some of the information that's already public, you all have a lot of questions. I hate we can't do this in person, but due to the COVID-19, this is still the best format for us to share information and communicate with each other. Listen, I'll jump right in. You know, transparency is important to me, and I know it's important to you all. Even when news is tough, you should still share it. As many of you all are aware, the COVID-19 continues to have a significant economic impact on our city. Even as of today, July 9th, many businesses have closed temporarily. Some have reduced their hours, or some have shut down completely. Again, as early as our conversations back in March and April and May, you know that has a significant impact on all forms of taxes, which make up our revenue to operate our city, not only our city services, but your pay as employees. We predict those closures could reduce revenue by as much as 20%. That's where it's been, and if that holds steady, that loss of revenue is a $75 million loss, or less budget than our previous year that ended last week, June 30th. And so I want to be very clear about this. My number one priority as it relates to being an employer related to you all as city employees is to keep you employed. The only thing that even rivals that, I would say is tied for first place is providing basic services for our residents. So as you know, that is why the city has decided to suspend merit increases for the upcoming fiscal year due to the budget shortfall. Additionally, the proposed budget does not include any COLA or longevity pay for you all. That is very tough news that I don't want to give, but I wanted to be upfront and share that with you. These are tough choices, but the truth is we're living in tough times with the financial crisis caused by the coronavirus. But I still remain encouraged, and I'm not only that we're making decisions for the long-term betterment of our employees, but I'm encouraged by your willingness as employees to continue to serve the city of Birmingham. Now, before we get into any questions, there are two more people I want to bring some opening remarks. The first is from our Cedric Sparks and our Director of HR, Jill Madazi. So Cedric Sparks, our Chief of Staff, will speak next. Cedric.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good afternoon to all of our city employees. Thank you so much for the service that you provide daily to our citizens. Just a couple of points that we want to share with you. The first thing is just a reminder. You've heard us say this before, but your safety is absolutely important to us. And we've taken numerous steps to try to reduce the number of exposures that our employees have while you're fulfilling your duties to the public. We recognize the times that we're in. But just as a reminder, you do have options that are available for you during this very difficult time. One is we've tried to institute telework options. It's one of the first times in our city's history that the mayor wanted to ensure that that option was available. So please make sure if you qualify for it, you follow up with your senior leadership as well as HR. Two, we tried to institute staggered schedules, again, with the hope of limiting the amount of exposures and contact that employees can have with each other. So if there are opportunities for you to stagger your schedule and then do your work from home, we tried to ensure that that opportunity was in place for you as well. And then you still have available, of course, the use of your leave time and the use of FMLA where it's applicable. Ms. Jill is going to come behind me and talk about tracking, tracing, safety protocols, but it all falls up under the umbrella of your safety. It is priority to us. So if you have questions about any of those options, please let us know. All right, number two. Priority for us is making sure that we keep you employed. The mayor has noted this. And it's our goal to do this as fairly and as equitably as possible. But we do need to know that's a difficult balance. Many cities have been forced to do layoffs, furloughs, terminations, pay cuts, and they've had to do this to even their most critical city services, even some of their public safety services. So the mayor has shared this. Our goal is to create as little financial disruption to your livelihood as possible. So in short, you might not be able to get more, but the mayor is working extremely hard to make sure you don't get less. That's a difficult balance, but please know that we are working hard every single day to protect your livelihood. Also, the question has been asked by many of our employees, why do we still have to come to work with a lot of what's going on? We have to balance being fair to the over 2,300 essential employees who have been coming to work every day since the beginning of March, who don't have the option to telework or stagger their schedules. So we need to make sure that for those of us who are here, for those of us who have the ability to stagger our schedules, please know that we do have a certain number of employees who don't have that option. So balance is number two. And then third and finally, the spirit of how we move. You've heard the mayor note that this is a time that we should not say I, me, or mine, but our focus should be we, our, and us. And so we want to constantly stress who we are as a city, that we believe in putting people first, that's internal and external, our citizens and our employees, that we have the mission of building community through servant leadership that we operate with every day, and that we use our core values that we commonly refer to as CETA, high level of customer service, efficiency, effectiveness, transparency, and accountability. That's who we are. That's what we do, even in the most difficult of times. Thank you for serving in that lane, and we ask that you continue to do so.
Thank you, Chief. Again, we'd like to let you know that you can press 0 at any time if you would like to ask a question. That's press 0 at any time if you would like to ask a question. Now we'll go on to Jill Medizik, our HR Director.
Good afternoon. I also would like to thank each of you for your continued dedication to the city and its citizens. I know this has been a stressful time for all of us. I'm sure each of you are concerned about your own well-being, health, and financial stability during the pandemic. And I know you're also concerned about the well-being of your family members and loved ones. And I know it's been difficult for us to reach out to our family members. We haven't been able to see them in many instances. But I want to remind you that the city does have a free and confidential service through Behavioral Health Services, where we do offer counseling for individuals where you can discuss your well-being, your health, and other matters that may be concerning you, including your finances and legal issues. They can be reached at 800-245-1150. Again, 800-245-1150. I also want to assure you that the city protocols relating to COVID-19 are in compliance with the recommendations of the CDC. If a coworker has tested positive, we have a robust track and trace process to identify other individuals who may have been exposed. It is important for you to understand that exposure occurs through direct contact, which is defined by the CDC as being within 6 feet for 15 minutes or more. Additionally, if you are following our protocols relating to face coverings, social distancing, and hand sanitizing, even if you are within 6 feet for 15 minutes, your risk of exposure is minimal. These precautions are critical. If you see a coworker failing to follow these protocols, please reach out to your director or to HR. Don't approach your coworkers. We'll handle the situation for you. I also want to remind everyone that if you are sick or if you have been exposed to an individual that has tested positive for COVID-19, you should not report to work. Follow your department's call-in procedures and then reach out to OHS at 205-254-6471 or COVID-19 at birminghamal.gov for screening and directions. Please also remember that we do have provisions in place for emergency sick leave for qualifying employees. Additionally, with the adoption of the sick bank, those provisions will be available as appropriate to employees. Finally, I do want to point out that we have launched some new initiatives for employees to at least provide some physical opportunities for them. If you go to Instagram and you go to Be Well in the Morning, that's BWELLINTHEMORNING, there are 5-minute videos of exercises that you can do at your desk or at home to help you keep stress-free and to improve your health. Those are also available at the Be Well Be Ham Facebook page. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. McIsaac. We will also have some polling questions for you today that we'd like you to take part in. Here's our first question of the day. Do the COVID-19 protocols that the city has put in place make you feel safer? Press 1 for much safer. Press 2 for somewhat safer. Press 3 for not much safer. Again, that question is, do the COVID-19 protocols that the city has put in place make you feel safer? Press 1 for much safer. Press 2 for somewhat safer. Press 3 for not much safer at all. We will have those questions up for about 5 minutes for you to post your answer. Now for our first question of the day for Mayor Woodson. Is there going to be an early retirement offer for eligible employees?
As of now, the $75 million shortfall, everyone, we have identified about, I want to give you the right number, probably around $30 million in cost savings. We're still about $45 million we have to find to solve for this budget projected shortfall. As you know, 70 cents of every dollar that goes out is for employees. That includes salaries, benefits, wages, COLA, longevity, merit, insurance, pension, etc. We know there are a significant number of employees that are eligible for retirement. As we consider ways to close the shortfall, I think as an administration and as a finance department, we are open to early retirements. But the truth is today, talking to you July 9th, nothing about that is formed. Nothing about that is in writing or on paper or because we don't know how that looks or the cost of that. But know that we are open to that idea.
Thank you, sir. Again, if you are just joining us, we would like to welcome you to the City of Birmingham Employees Tele-Town Hall. You may press 0 at any time if you would like to ask a question. Our second question of the day for you, Mayor, will the economic struggles now hurt promotions in the future?
No, that's a great question. Truth is, sitting here before you, I don't know the answer to that because we're just trying to make it through this immediate year. In this immediate year, what we do know is, in addition to not being in a position to not do merit, not do COLA, not do longevity, there's another portion of money we had to take. You all may know it as unfilled vacant positions, surplus personnel. Each department took a significant hit to close for this shortfall. It's roughly over $20 million in vacant positions. We took those positions as well. So from a hiring standpoint, we're now today only in the position to hire for those who either retire, resign, or are terminated. In that case, as it relates to going up in rank in a certain department, whether it's a manager or a different level or whether it's in police and fire, etc., today I'm not in a position to tell you how that affects the future because we're trying to solve for the current year now. But look for follow-up from us as HR and finance as well as the mayor's office talk about these things. I think we all should consider when you do have a promotion, those promotions are usually attached to a dollar amount. If the budget shortfall continues at this rate, it will be hard to justify in the immediate. But I can't solve for the future on this call.
Thank you, sir. As a reminder, our last poll question will be open for just a few more seconds before it closes. Now on to another question that a city employee has. The question is, if the elimination of merit raises will start July 1st of 2020 or July 1st of next year?
By law and under the Jefferson County Personnel Board, if you suspend merit, you have to suspend merit before the new fiscal year started. So the old fiscal year ended June 30th, which is why we gave city employees notice prior to the 30th that the start of the new fiscal year, July 1 of 2020, that ends June 30th of 2021, merit is suspended.
Thank you, sir. We will now go on to our second poll question of the day. The question is, have you come in contact with anyone you believe has had COVID-19 symptoms? Press 1 for yes or 2 for no. Again, have you come in contact with anyone who you believe has COVID-19 symptoms? Press 1 for yes and 2 for no. We'll now go on to our next question, sir. There is talk around the fire department and police department that there's going to be a lot of layoffs or furloughs. Is this true or is this just talk?
Let me tell you something. It's going to be very important. It's going to be extremely important that it is not coming directly from me. It's not coming from Chief Sparks, Chief Moore, Chief Fields, or your department head, or your union leadership president. Then it is just that, a rumor, not true. I am happy for the relationship I have not only with the department heads of fire, public works, and the police department, but just last week on a call for at least an hour with the union rep and union leadership of the police department, of the fire department, and public works, who make up the largest 3 departments for all of our employees. There are no decisions we're making that they're not aware of. So I'm going to really, really encourage you as employees, do not fall victim to rumors. Do not fall victim to gossip. We're extremely transparent in every decision we're making because we're in it with you. And so it's going to be really important to listen to your, not only department heads, but your union leadership too, and not be in a position to either make up things or believe these things you're hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Another question just came in along those lines that says, is there going to be a pay cut for labor employees?
Not that I'm aware of. I will tell y'all, there are break glass scenarios we're entertaining. So I'm putting all the cards on the table. I told you earlier that's a $75 million projected shortfall. Today we've only identified about finding over $30 million. So we still got to find $40+ million to solve for if the current projections hold. Even solving for merit, longevity, COLA, we still haven't closed the gap. There are break glass scenarios we do need to at least flush out to see what it looks like. Those break glass scenarios include include the following 3: pay cuts, furloughs, terminations. Today, July 9th, none of that is being executed on. Today, July 9th, we should consider those break glass scenarios just in case we can't solve for other ways to close the budget shortfall. What I can tell you is that there will not be disparate treatment. Everything will be equal. Today, if everyone is receiving no COLA, today if everyone is receiving no longevity, today if everyone is not receiving merit, then that break glass scenario would be across the board for everyone. We wouldn't choose one department because that's not fair.
Thank you, sir. We want to remind you that you have a few seconds left to answer question number 2 on our polling questions. And remember, you can press 0 at any time. Moving on to our next question of the day. The caller wants to know, why are we not being tested in reference to COVID-19?
All right, I'm going to turn that question over either to Cedric Sparks and or Jill Madajic.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Jill and I will tag team on this, and that's a very fair question. The challenge with everyone being tested, and Ms. Jill will note this also, is the incubation period. There are times that you can be tested, and then within the next day or two, because of the incubation period, you can test negative when you test, and then test positive 2 days later. So what we've tried to do is be good stewards of the approach that we're using, and if we find that there is direct contact that has been made with someone who's been deemed positive, we institute our tracing and tracking, and then we engage in employee testing. However, we do recommend that if you have your own private doctor, that you can feel free to test at any time. But that's a part of the challenge with testing. Now, the incubation period really makes it difficult for us to be assured that once you test, that your test will remain negative. Ms. Jill will add some things to that, too.
So in the news you can use, Ms. Shonda Temple has included testing facilities that individuals can go to. You should know that when you use your insurance from the city, there is no copay for testing. And if you are concerned that you have been exposed, please feel free to go get tested. If you do get tested, you will be asked to remain off work until you have your negative test result. So if you choose to test, please contact us at covid19@birminghamal.gov so we can note that you've gone for a test and are awaiting results.
Thank you, Ms. Madizik. We will now go on to our third polling question of the day. Have you or anyone in your household tested positive for COVID-19? Press 1 for yes and 2 for no. Again, have you or anyone in your household tested positive for COVID-19? Press 1 for yes and 2 for no. We also had a call which says, is it safe for 3 people to be riding in the garbage truck?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Moving right along. Can we go to a 410 shift to save on gas and help with the COVID-19?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
I do appreciate that question, though.
Next question. I have a question regarding overtime and employees that have tested positive pay.
All right, whoever asks Ms. Silva, if the framing of the question needs to be reshared, whoever that caller is who asked that question, can you please put us in a position to ask it again so we can make sure we understand what you're asking before we answer it?
Thank you, sir. Our next question is stopping the merit raises and longevity pay across the board, and does this include the higher echelon, or is it just public works and the police department?
It includes all city employees. There is no employee today that will be receiving, as of today, July 9th, for the new fiscal year that started 8 days ago, no city employee will be receiving a COLA, longevity, or merit. It's been suspended for all city employees.
Thank you, sir. We want to remind you that there are a few seconds left for the last polling question that we had, so please log in your answers for today. Our next question, we want to talk about the temporary position. How long will a temp position last with the city of Birmingham?
Well, that's a great question. Temp positions are going to be based on if we got temp money. I know that may sound too frank of an answer, but when you have budget shortfalls, you solve for taking care of your employees. The good news as of today, we're solving for all of our current employees remaining employed.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next question says, is there consideration in cutting costs in heavy rigs, cutting back in the fire department or street department, cutting back on diesel fuel for the city?
Yes, there's ample consideration for how we engage basic services attached to the amount of money we put out to provide those services. So as regards to our fleet, regards to gas, but it's beyond that. Utilities, every single thing we do, we're looking at cost savings across the board. Traveling, continued education opportunities, supplies. We are looking at every single way to save money to the city.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A caller would like to know if Ms. Madizik can talk about the leave bank that has been established for city employees.
Thank you for that question. There are 2 leave banks that have been established. They're both voluntary programs. One is a sick leave bank, which is for individuals who have run out of their own sick and vacation time and experience a catastrophic or long-term illness. To be eligible to join the sick bank, you have to have a year of employment and enroll during an enrollment period and donate 16 of your sick leave hours. There was an enrollment period at the middle of July till the end, mid-June to the end of June. There will be another enrollment period in September. The vacation bank is if you donate 8 hours of vacation time. That is for individuals who may have a personal catastrophe, such as a house fire, flooding, or have a death in the family that may be out of the area that requires longer time off, and employees are eligible to receive up to 40 hours from the vacation bank.
Thank you, Ms. Madizik. We also want to remind our callers that you may press 0 at any time if you would like to ask a question. Our next question of the day, can we give the merit step even if we don't offer the pay?
Jill, there's a question that says, can they receive the merit step even if they don't receive the merit pay? I don't know the answer to that.
The answer to that would be no, because it would require us to do a 5% pay cut across the board to advance everybody to their next step, which means that to equally apply it across the board for individuals that weren't yet eligible for a step, the immediate effect would be for them to have a 5% pay cut.
So to that employee that asked that question, and for all of our employees, there is no separation of step from actual dollar amount.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, Ms. Madizik. Our next question is in relation to the coronavirus. A caller wants to know, how are employees supposed to feel comfortable during COVID?
I'm going to take a stab at this question. Every time we walk out of our homes, there's risk. We walk out of our homes to go to a grocery store. We walk out of our homes to go to the gas station. We walk out of our homes to go to a corner store or a drugstore. We walk out of our homes to go to get something to eat. We walk out of our homes to go to church. Any of the above things. It is the same scenario actually when you come into your place of work. I think the good news is we've taken every step recommended by the CDC guidelines. In addition to that, I think many of you all know that facial covers for the city of Birmingham has been implemented as early as May. So the whole notion now is centered around when you talk, when you sneeze, when you cough, when you laugh, if you're happy at work, and even if you start singing, droplets come out of your mouths. The more you wear your facial covers, the less exposure you have of giving it to someone else. So it's important that you wear your facial covers. The bottom line is this. If you're not staying in your home 100% of the day, 24 hours a day, any of us, wherever we go, we're at risk.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is, will employees that have been impacted by COVID get any recognition by the city, either private or public?
Say that one more time.
The question is, will employees that have been impacted by COVID-19 get any recognition by the city, either private or public?
I think there can be some private recognition.
Thank you, sir. I will go on to our next poll question of the day, and the question is as follows. Do you have a family member that has experienced a job or business loss during the crisis? Press 1 for no. Press 2 for no, but their hours have been cut. Press 3 for yes, someone lost a job or business. Again, that question, do you have a family member that has experienced job or business loss during this crisis? Press 1 for no. Press 2 for no, but their hours were cut. And press 3 for yes, someone has lost a job or business. We will have that poll question up for about the next 5 minutes for you to respond. The next question for you, Mr. Mayor, is there still a restriction on travel due to COVID-19?
So there are no longer travel restrictions for us, meaning the city of Birmingham does not have travel restrictions in place for its employees. However, be mindful that there are some countries and there are some places that will not receive travelers from our state. So for us, we do not have travel restrictions for employees, but please be mindful that there are some places that will not receive travelers from our state.
Thank you, Chief. Mayor, this question is for you. A caller says, I believe that the protocols we have in place are helpful for COVID-19. However, some of the employees are not complying with the requirements and visitors do not. What discipline and enforcement options are in place for us to make sure?
This is Jill Medisek. We have recently started disciplining employees for a failure to comply with our protocols relating to face coverings, sanitizing, and social distancing. We're starting with progressive discipline. Employees will receive a counseling, then they will move to a warning up through suspension and termination. Again, if you see employees who are not properly following protocol, please notify your department director, HR, and we will take care of the issue. Please do not approach your employees themselves. Let us take care of that for you.
Thank you, Ms. Medisek. Our next question, what is the exact protocol for a police precinct to follow if an employee tests positive for COVID-19?
So for all of our employees, whether you're at a police precinct, for all of our employees, your department heads, deputies, and immediate supervisors have all been shared this, so we want to make sure that you know the protocol as well. Once an employee finds out that they have tested positive, really before they tested positive, if an employee believes that they've had direct exposure, they should lift that up to their immediate supervisor and department head as well. But once you find out you have tested positive, regardless of the department, please let the first person you notify be your department head. Your department head has then been instructed to notify the mayor's office via myself and HR via Ms. Medisek. And at that point, we have to immediately engage our tracing and tracking team, which do a phenomenal job. But the first person you should notify is your department head, and your department head will notify myself and Ms. Medisek.
Thank you, Chief. We want to remind everyone of our last polling question. It was in reference to whether you have a family member who's experienced a job or business loss during COVID-19. Press 1 for no, press 2 for no, but their hours have been cut, and press 3 if it's yes, someone has lost a job or a business. We'd also like to say the failure to hire individuals and the deletion of vacancies is causing significant overtime, which is costing the city money and is wearing out employees. What is the city going to do about that?
Good evening. This is Kevin Moore, Chief of Operations. We're constantly evaluating our standards and efficiencies to ensure that we address the fatigue of our employees. We are in difficult times right now, but we will continue to work with the department heads to ensure that those efficiencies have more of a positive impact on employees rather than a negative. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. This is one more question from Ms. Medisek. An employee wanted a little more clarity in reference to the sick bank, if you can advise on that.
The sick bank is available for employees who have exhausted all of their sick leave and vacation time. If they enrolled in the sick bank, they can make an application to receive up to 240 hours of sick leave. The enrollment period was at the end of June. We are in the process of evaluating all of the applications to make sure that we capture the donated hours, and individuals can start applying for benefits around July 15th. We will send a notification to employees when they've been approved into the bank, and they can start applying. We will have another enrollment period for individuals who missed that enrollment in September.
Thank you, Ms. Medizik. This next question, Mayor, the caller says, with employees not being granted raises or longevity, has the city considered not funding any extra events?
Yes, we have. We considered everything. We sent out a letter to every organization that gets some form of a waiver for police usage, for permits, for fees, for building usage, for all of the above, so many other things that we usually waive. We let every group and organization know for the event, even for the existing ones, not new ones, for the existing ones, please go forward as if you're not going to receive any waivers or cost reduction from the city of Birmingham when you submit your request. Put us in a position to say yes or no to that. In addition to that, the boards and agencies that we give significant money to, all of them will be receiving significant cuts. I want you to think about city assets such as the zoo and Vulcan and Ruffner Mountain, Red Mountain, Railroad Park. I want you to think of various events. I want you to think of various cities' assets. All of them will receive a significant decrease in funding from the city.
Thank you, sir. We still would like to remind our callers that you may press 0 at any time if you'd like to ask a question, and we have team members standing by. Now to the next question that we have received. Will the Magic City Classic be funded in the fiscal year 2021, and will those funds help the current situation?
Good evening again. This is Kevin Moore, Chief of Operations. Like I said earlier, we're still evaluating all opportunities within the city. As many of you may know, the Magic City Classic has a huge economic impact on the city, over $20 million. So what we're doing is trying to determine how we can still have the Classic with it not having a negative impact on our financials. So we're going to continue to make assessments. We're working with Bruno Event Team as well as our Office of Sports and Entertainment to determine the proper way to move forward, if we can move forward at all, based on COVID-19. Thank you.
In addition to Kevin's question, it's not the city of Birmingham's only decision. These schools are a part of that decision, as well as SWAC, which what these two schools play under. I'll tell you this, though. If y'all want football, y'all want the Classic, y'all better wear y'all face cover and stop playing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next question, if the numbers of COVID-19 cases continue to rise, why are we required to come to work?
I'm going to let Cedric Sparks answer that question.
So that's a very, very fair question. And the mayor has touched on this, and we tried to be pretty intentional about it. Our service as city employees are deemed critical service. And so I noted this earlier in our comments that we have a team of employees, really over 2,300 employees, that have been coming to work every single day since March. Our police, fire, public works, members of our equipment management, transportation team, they've had to come to work every single day because government is deemed an essential service, no different than why the hospitals are not able to close, or the grocery stores are not able to close, or the pharmacies. And so we get it. In the midst of a pandemic, that is frightening, that we are an essential service that still has to report to work. However, The blessing is we still have work to report to because there are a number of municipalities and governments that have had to do furloughs, terminations. The other piece to that is we're also working to create options for you to consider. Again, we've tried to institute telework, staggered scheduling to reduce exposures, but we also recognize that at some point employees have to make a choice about what works best for their household. That's not something that we can do. But we do have to balance that we have a number of employees who have been our heroes throughout this time. They've come to work for the last 3 or 4 months. And so being fair to them as well is a part of our priority.
Thank you, Chief. Our next question, why do we have to use our personal time while waiting on results for a second test after being quarantined for 14 days?
This is Jill Isaac. For our fire personnel who deal directly with the public in a medical setting, the fire department is following the guidelines of the CDC for a medical entity. So if you have been exposed in your personal life and you have gone through your quarantine, the CDC recommends for healthcare providers that an individual have 2 negative tests within a greater than 24-hour period before being allowed to return to work. Therefore, since your exposure was on personal time, it is your personal time that you have to use. If the exposure occurs at work, that should be being covered by workers' compensation.
Thank you, Ms. Madizik. We'll now go to our next poll question for today, and that question is as follows. Have you supported any community COVID-19 effort? Press 1 if you have volunteered your time. Press 2 if you have made financial contributions. Press 3 if you've gotten the word out. Press 4 if you have not. And press 5 if you have done 2 or more of these things. Again, the question is, have you supported any community COVID-19 effort? And now to another question that we just received. The caller says, I have noticed that the Birmingham Police Department has been doing roadblocks. I would like to know from the mayor, how does he feel about the police doing roadblocks in predominantly lower income neighborhoods?
The City of Birmingham Police Department is not doing roadblocks. The City of Birmingham Police Department does do checkpoints. The City of Birmingham has 99 neighborhoods. 88 of those 99 neighborhoods are all black. I want to repeat that. 88 out of 99 neighborhoods are all black. If you all have noticed, there's been an uptick in burglaries related to, what do you call those places? Pawn shops. The number one priority in these break-ins is to steal guns. Because a lot of guns have been stolen, we've seen an uptick in guns on our streets. Because we've seen an uptick in guns on our streets, we've seen the number of shootings into occupied dwellings and shooting into occupied vehicles as well as unoccupied vehicles and shooting into unoccupied dwellings. From moving vehicles, people are driving around with stolen guns, shooting at people. Just in the last 30 days, 2 innocent people who were not a part of anything to do with any dispute between individuals were killed by people shooting from moving vehicles. In addition to that, in the last 2 weeks, a 5-year-old was shot in our city. By the grace of God, they survived. These shootings are taking place in these 88 neighborhoods. We've taken 4,000 plus guns off the street since we've been in administration. Since January 1 of 2020, we've taken over 1,300 guns off the street in the city of Birmingham. If you got a better example, if you have a better way of getting illegal guns off our streets so innocent 5-year-olds aren't killed and seniors aren't killed by simply driving in their car from point A to B, I'm all ears. In the meantime, we will continue to do checkpoints to keep our city safe.
Thank you, sir. We want to remind our callers that we have a few seconds left to take part in the last poll question, which asks, have you supported any community COVID-19 efforts? As we wait for those last responses to come in, Mayor, just wanted to let you know that we have a few minutes left, and are there any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our City of Birmingham employees?
As always, I'm very appreciative of our employees. The truth is, the community asks a lot of you all. You signed up for this job. Some of you all have been on the job 1 year. Some of you all have been here 5, 10, 20, and 30 years. I think you do it because you love serving people. And it is real easy to look within and say, what has the city done for me lately? This sucks. I can't get my COLA. I can't get my longevity. I can't get my merit. My response is, I agree with you. You deserve all of the above. But when your financial resources that make up your city coffers are dependent on things to be open and for people to shop and for people to make purchases and for the city to have events in it and for people to stay in our hotels and those things don't happen, money doesn't come in. The question becomes, even in this hard economic time and financial hardship, the reason you signed up for this job 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and 1 year ago, is your heart still here, willing and ready to serve? I believe the answer to at least 99.9% of the people on this call is yes. And for that, I'm very appreciative of your hard work and dedication. Just know that I am extremely hopeful that this financial hardship is only for 365 days. And we've done 9 of those days so far. Things will be better. Things will get better. I ask that you stick with us over this next year and remember the reason why you signed up for the job you have. Thank you for your service.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. And again, thank you to all of the City of Birmingham employees that were on this call today. We will continue to do our very best to keep you informed through efforts like this, through social media, and online. We appreciate your service to this city. This now concludes our call for today. By the end of the day, you will have the ability to access today's call